Even what I'm saying now is data. Even the videos that you watch is data. Even the, just name it, numbers, alphabets, anything, almost everything around us is data. And it now depends on what kind of data you're collecting. However, our class today, we are looking at Power BI overview and how to import data. And then we are glad to have you here on Textilers. This is just a little profile about me. My name is Choma Klai Okafor, and I've got some certifications in data analysis, and then I'm also a certified data trainer. Okay, so I would love all of us to meet our team. Oh, we are going to be meeting these wonderful ladies at some point in the course of our journey. That's my humble self. We have Madam Franca, we have Lady Gloria, we have Madam Idbilolia, and then we have our own very Olayinka. And today we're going to be looking at what Power BI is offering us. So we're going to be looking at the different types of Power BI parts that we have. We have the desktop, we have the service, we have the mobile. We also have the data. When we go into our Power BI desktop, we're going to take a look at what our data view looks like, what our model view looks like, and also what our report view looks like. We're also going to look at all the available data sources that we have when we are trying to gather our data. We're going to also look at storage modes that Power BI makes use of. And then we're also going to look at what our Power Query interface looks like. So when we talk about Power BI, we talk about data analytics. Data analytics simply means our ability to process a lot of raw data, just like we just mentioned, we have listed it before. Data could be in the form of information, whatever you can think of. But what data analytics helps us to do is to go and source this raw data wherever they are, and not just look at it, but try to make out meaning from them. Try to get insights from them. Somebody said when he or she hears data, what comes to his mind is insights. And I love that, because when we're talking about data analytics, all we're trying to achieve is to see how we can, from the data that we have available at hand, what we can do with it. And data analytics helps us to understand what is happening with our data. Now, Power BI is a business intelligence tool that helps us achieve this. So it helps us get this data, help us to process it, and also help us to analyze it. Based on our analysis, we can decide and make some informed decisions. Power BI is like a collection of software services, which includes apps and connectors. When we talk about connectors, we're going to look at all the connectors. Power BI has over 200 connectors, and that is what makes it one of the top, one of the most seeked tool when it comes to business intelligence. It's just because of the scalability and its flexibility to be able to get data from wherever sources they are located. Now, basically, just what I've been saying so far, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at our data being located at different places. It doesn't matter where it's located, but we're trying to say that irrespective of where it's located, we have Power BI that can help us go into all these data sources and use your Power BI to process data from all these sources. And at the end of the day, you want to come up with something like this kind of visualization, where I am no longer looking at numbers, I'm no more looking at tables, where you have rows and columns, and then you have thousands of data sets on it. And I mean, looking at it alone is giving you migraine. But by the time you finish working with it with Power BI, you can see it comes up, just like what they say, pictures heart speaks volume. When you're looking at a picture, it sends a lot of messages. But when you start writing a story about the picture, you find out that you might have up to 1,000 words to say about, or even more, to say about a particular picture. But with a picture, you can see everything at a glance. And that's what Power BI helps us to do. So irrespective of the fact that your data is running into thousands, millions of data sets, into zillions, no matter the capacity, Power BI can help us go into that data set, help us narrow it down, bring it up in such a way that when you're looking at it, it's making a lot of sense to you. If you look at this now, you can see that, okay, from this, I can understand we're dealing with 50,000 volume of category or whatever it is. But this is just the beauty of Power BI. Now, when you talk about data analytics, there are different parts to it so that you can understand what kind of data analytics are you looking at. We have the descriptive type analytics. When you say descriptive tends to answer the question of what happened. What do I mean by that? I'm going to paint a very simple picture. Let's say, for example, in your company, you have been keeping records. I'm going to use like, let's say, okay, let's even use like ShopRite. ShopRite, we know ShopRite, what it is, what they are and what they do. It's a shopping mall where people go in to buy things. And for everything that you buy in ShopRite, they're keeping data. For everything that they do there, whether they're doing their inventory, whatever this is that they're doing, they keep data. Now, descriptive analytics helps us to look at what has happened over time. So let's say, for example, the manager of a ShopRite, maybe located, maybe say in Lagos, Lekki Lagos, walks in and he wants to understand what has been happening over, let's say, in the last 5 years with the company. What the person simply needs to do is to look at all the records for the past 5 years. Based on what you have already, descriptive analytics will now help you understand what has been happening. Okay, for last year, 2022, we were able to make a sale of, say, like 60,000, whatever. Let's just say 60,000 naira. Very poor though. But let's just say 60,000. Yeah, 60,000 naira. And then for 2021, we're able to make 50,000. For 2020, we're able to make 30,000. For 2019, we're able to make, say, 30,000. And then for 2018, we're able to make 20,000 again. Now, descriptive analysis helping us to look at this data. Okay, for this year, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. That's what descriptive is all about. Trying to describe what has been happening so far with your data. Now, diagnostic. Since we have looked at our data set now, and we can see for the past years, the sales have been made, you now want to ask the question, why? Why? Okay, let's say, why is it that in 2021, we made a sale of 50,000, and then 2022, we are making a sale of 60,000? You are not asking the question why, because does it mean you are trying to understand? Does it mean we had more customers? Does it mean we brought in more products? Does it mean we did something different? Does it mean that you understand what I mean? Or it could be that in 2021 you made a sale of 50,000, and in 2022 you made a sale of 40,000. That's like it's like a loss. So you want to ask the question why? That's what diagnostics does. You just try to understand, looking at your data set that you already have. Looking at it, you're trying to make sense out of it. Why is this happening? Okay, why is it that in the month of, say, December, we had more sales, right? These are just what the diagnostic analytics does for us. When we talk about predictive wants us to look at what has happened over time. And based on what has happened over time, we want to predict what will happen in the future. I'm going to go back to our example again. When we look at our data set, say in the year 2020, we made 30,000. In the year 2021, we made 40,000. In the year 2022, we made 50,000, and so on and so forth. So based on what we've seen so far, we can see that it's like every year we keep increasing in our sales. We keep increasing. say by 10,000 or whatever. But predictive will now help us, okay, because for the previous years, we have been able to have like an increase of 10,000 every year. Then there is a probability by the end of 2023, we're looking at 70,000. By the end of 2024, we're looking at 80,000. Like, it just helps us to understand, okay, this is what has happened in the past. Okay, we can predict based on what we already have. That's what predictive does. When you talk about prescriptive, now, because we have looked at our past records, because we have been able to understand, okay, why is this happening? And because we are able to predict, okay, this is what is likely to happen, prescriptive will now go ahead and say, okay, we have looked at our data sets or at our record for the past, say, 5 years, and we have actually been doing well in the sense that we have been improving on our sales. And this could be because we had more customers or we added more products. And then hopefully we're looking at by the end of 2023, we're going to increase to 70 and 80. Because we have seen that, okay, when we have more products, we are likely to increase our sales. Can we start looking at other things that we can do so that by the end of 2023, we don't just scale up by just say 10,000, we are looking at maybe 15 to 20,000, which is like almost how many percentage of increase from where we used to be. So prescription now help us to start looking at all these parts to see, okay, what can we prescribe so that based on our past records and looking in the future, this is what we can do to help us get better. Now, when you talk about cognitive analytics just looks at all we have done so far. You are keeping record of all this. We have looked at how our record has been going. We have looked at why it has been the way it is. We have looked at what is likely to happen in the future. And we have looked at what are the things we can do to improve. Cognitive is taking note of all this so that at the end of the day, if for example, tomorrow, something very similar to what has happened at some point, we can go back to our cognitive analytics and use it to deduce, okay, based on the fact that during rainy season, we tend to have cold weather. And because of that, our increase in the sale of, say, ice cream, our sale of ice cream increases. So based on this, can we look at any other time we'll have cold weather or any other time we'll have social events? Can we do this so that we can get better? So cognitive tries to look at what has happened and what has been documented, and based on that, try to understand, okay, what can we do going forward? Or if something like this happens, this is something that we can apply. So that's all about data analytics. Data analytics looks at different types of analytics in the sense that depending on what situation you are in at the moment and what you want to solve, you can decide to explore any of them and get your answer. Now, why are we even talking about Power BI today? One beautiful thing about Power BI is that first and foremost, it's very easy and quick for us to access our data wherever it is located. I say it again, Power BI is so easy to use, irrespective of wherever your data set is located. You can easily go in there, pick up what you want, and work with it. Power BI, if you're using it for your company, it helps you understand what is happening in your company, gives you an overview, not just overview, detailed and overall insight of what happens in your company. You can use Power BI to explore and discover things, just like we said before. You can look at your data sets, explore all your data sets, and try to understand what is happening at every point in time and why those things are happening and how best you can, go forward from where you are. Power BI helps us with insights. So when you say across all platforms, Power BI has different platforms where you have the Power BI service, where you have the Power BI desktop, where you have the Power BI mobile. And apart from that, no matter where your data source is, Power BI helps you to get insights from all these platforms. It helps you to collaborate. So if you're working in a company and let's say you have different departments and each department come up with their own data set, Power BI can help you have the company gather all their data sets, no matter the department where it's located. And at the end of the day, they can still look at the end product. Let me break that down. You have a company that has the HR departments. You have a company that has the finance department. You have a company that has, let's say, the marketing department, just different departments. And all these departments, they have their own data, way of collecting their own data, and they have somewhere they are storing it. What Power BI can help us to do is, in as much that this company have different departments with each department having their own different data, their Power BI can help us go into these different departments, gather all their data, no matter where it's located, try to find something that's, that is very common between all this, bring them together, publish it in such a way that at the end of the day, when we're looking at our visuals, each department can see how they're performing. And they can even communicate between departments. Also, Power BI helps us. So it's not just about coming up with visuals. You want to analyze and probe your visuals to understand if you actually understand what's happening in your data sets. Now, what key benefits of Power BI? Power BI has dashboards and visuals, and all this can be real time. So, there are some companies you walk into and they are processing data on daily basis. Their facts, their figures are changing and so many things. Power BI helps such companies to be able to stay up to date with their records in terms of their visualizations. Now, when you are on Power BI, when you're using Power BI gives us some level of security. When I say security, whether you're connecting to your on-premises or in the cloud, Power BI helps you to ensure that your data set is not tampered with. As long as, let's say, for example, the people that have access to the critical data do not give out their login details, or, Power BI has a way of making sure that you don't, in fact, when you go on cloud, all the data sets are encrypted. Use what we call encryption method to secure this data. And so, irrespective of where you're working, your data is secured, because it's one thing to have data, it's another thing to secure it. And you want to be sure that your data is not going to the wrong hands, because these days we have a lot of cyber crimes going on. People are trying to hack into people's health records, and these are very delicate data sets that you don't want, being exposed to where it's not, found where it's not supposed to be. And Power BI gives you that assurance that your data is secured. Now, Power BI has this feature that helps you to automatically refresh your data set, and that way it makes your data set consistent, or whatever, your data visuals consistent with what you have on your data set. And so you can set up a system where whatever that is happening in your company, you want your Power BI, your Power BI to be able to give us updates on the latest records. And so Power BI has this feature that will help you automatically schedule refreshes. So somebody does not have to be there to always click, okay, refresh. After 10 minutes, you go and click again, refresh. No. Power BI has the feature that helps you program it in such a way that even if you are there or not, whether you're sleeping, whether you're working, your data set is being recorded in a timely basis, on a timely basis. Now, Power BI has the native mobile apps. So mobile apps, so even if you're on the go, you can still access information on your app. Power BI helps us to integrate with different Microsoft products and services. To be honest, Microsoft, they have been able to make sure that if you are on their platform, you can easily go through the different types of products you have. Like they make it in such a way that even if I'm using Excel, I can easily go to Power BI, and from there I can go to, Power Automate. I can go to, they just have this way, this thing of having to integrate everything on their platform. And so when you're using Microsoft, I'm not marketing for them, but I'm just trying to tell you what I've noticed. When you're using Microsoft, you find that almost everything you need is on Microsoft. And they have a way that from this you can connect to this, and that's it. And then finally, Power BI has this capability of making use of natural language. So you know the normal way you come and put in, please, can I know the total number of persons who attended the section for today? Put it into your Power BI and it will give you the answer. And so these are some of the benefits, and I'm sure there are many more, but this is like I just gave an overall benefits of what Power BI can do for you. Now, while we go along, we're going to be looking at some terms. We're going to look at data source. When you hear data source, it simply means that we're looking at where our data is being located. So for some people, if you are working with spreadsheet, your data could be located on your Excel. It could be located on your database.
Sorry, Chairman. Oyindamola, you have your hands up. You have a question.
Okay.
Yes, good evening. Please, I just wanted to. Yes, please, I just wanted to confirm if the speaker was sharing her screen because I can't see anything at my end.
Yes, I'm sharing my screen. You can't see it.
Okay, can you go out and come back in?
Yes, yes, I'll try to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go out and come back in.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Franca. All right. And then another term we're going to be looking at is visualization. I've said it already, and we're going to be using more of it as we go on in this course. Visualization simply means representation of data in various forms, in various graphical forms. So it could be in graph, you know, you have your pie chart, your bar charts. You're going to look at all this at the end of the day. Not today, but while we continue with this course. And you can have maps, you can have tables, you can have values. Visualization just gives a picture of all this in one report, kind of. And then we have tiles. Tiles are those individual report elements or snapshots of the data that are pinned to a dashboard. I'm going to show us all this while we continue. And then we have the dashboard. Dashboard is a single page, often called a canvas, that tells a story through visualization. And then we also have reports. Report is a multi-perspective view into a data set with visuals that represent findings and insights from the data sets. Now, when we talk about Power BI, there are different parts of Power BI. The first part we are going to, which is even where we're going to start with today, and in fact, everything we're going to do for this beginner section will be on Power BI Desktop. Power BI Desktop is the app that I already have on your desktop right now, sitting there. And we're going to be using that to do a lot of things. That's just one part of Power BI. We also have the online SaaS, which is software as a service, which is Power BI service. This is the cloud part of our Power BI where you go online, and it helps us to collaborate with so many people. So now the difference between the desktop and the Power BI service is the fact that desktop is sitting on your desktop, on your laptop, on your computer, on your device. And so everything you're doing there is just limited to what you are doing. But the moment it goes on the cloud, it helps you to collaborate with every other member of your team. Say in your workplace, anywhere, I mean, anything you're doing. It helps you, not just you, it's not just limited to you. Other people can also, contribute. And then also we have the the mobile Power BI apps. So Power BI has the mobile part so that whenever you're on the go, when you're on the move, irrespective, even if you're in transit, if you're traveling, you can still have access to your Power BI. So that's basically it. So basically, Power BI has three parts: the desktop, the Power BI service, and then the mobile apps. This is just a picture of what it looks like. This is what our desktop looks like. This is where you will be importing your data, doing all the cleaning, doing all the analysis, and so on and so forth. And by the time you are done with your reports, you want to go ahead and publish it on our Power BI service. So Power BI service, like I mentioned, is our cloud, where everything that you have done on your Power BI desktop, you now want to move it to the cloud so that other members of your team can also have access to that report. And when you're publishing on the service, on your Power BI service, you're not only publishing just the reports, you're also publishing your data sets as well. And then when you go to the Power BI service, there are so many things that goes on here. And also from the Power BI service, you can make it available on your Power BI mobile. So if I'm on the go, I can still access whatever that I've done. Another way, you can either decide to, first of all, okay, sorry. Okay, yeah, just the same thing that I explained. Yeah. So basically from your desktop to your Power BI service and then your mobile, that's it. Now we're going to be looking at the building blocks of Power BI. Now, when you talk about Power BI, there are some basic building blocks that you need to be very conversant with, because all through your journey in Power BI, you're going to be coming across them and you're going to be using them. We have the visualizations, we have the data sets, we have the reports, we have the dashboards, and we have the tiles. When we talk about visualization, just like I mentioned earlier on, visualization is just like a picture, a graphical picture where we get to see different types of visuals. You get to see graph, you get to see table, you get to see map, you get to see different types of visuals. So this, when you hear visualization, this is just what visualization is all about. Okay. Then data sets. The very common data sets that we're used to is our tables, where you have your rows and columns. And so when you see something like this, this is like a data set. And this data set could be running into millions, thousands. Just imagine, let's say even the ShopRite that I use as an example by now, just imagine what their sales record is like, because every day they have almost thousands of people coming in to buy something. And then imagine it's over a period of, say, even 1 year, what it looks like. And so this is what it looks like. Now, the beautiful thing about data set is that it helps you get information, like detailed information of everything. So you're looking at the row. For each row, it's speaking to a particular instance. And then you have the different fields where it tells you the different column headings like year, month, and the rest. So that's basically what our data set is all about. Now, when it comes to reports, so the data set that we have looked at, by the time we start analyzing it, we want to come up with reports that we can give to our team, we can give to our company, we can present it anywhere in order to give insights into our data. And so you have something like this, and your reports could run into pages. So if say, for example, you're looking at different departments, your page 1 could be for HR department, your page 2 could be for marketing department. So your reports can help you organize you can use your reports to organize your data sets in the different ways that you want to actually, talk about it. And then we also have the dashboard. The dashboard, just like the definition, is a single page. Some people will say it's a single page report. Remember, I said reports have different pages where you can dedicate each page to a particular type of report that you want at that place. But dashboard can never be more than one. Dashboard is just like a big board that has maybe the key informations you want. So let's say when you're reporting to I'm going to go back and use our workplace. Let's even use ShopRite, for example, again. ShopRite, I'm sure they have the supply chain department where everything that has to do with their inventory is recorded. And so if you're a data analyst in that kind of place, you want to build a report where everything that you're building has to do with their supply chain aspect of the logistic aspect of the company. You also want to build a report maybe for the sales departments, maybe their marketing team and everything. You want to build another report for the HR. So you can have page 1 dedicated for supply, page 2 dedicated for HR, page 3 dedicated for finance, like that. But by the time, and for each department, they have their heads, right? But by the time let's say you are now going to the management, the CEO or whoever that is like the Okapata there, and you want to present like report for all these departments, you don't want to go there and be clicking. If you click on page 1, this is for supply chain, click on page 2, this is for this. No, you want a report that's just a single report that he will just look at it and he understands, okay, for this department, this is what they're doing for this department. So you might be looking at key visuals or reports that you want. So on this dashboard now, I can now see, okay, for supply chain, this is what they've done so far for this. So a dashboard is just a single page report that gives you the main insight into key performance indicators for each company, depending on their wants, on their need, on what they're looking out for. And then the tiles. So for when you go on our reports, you have what we call the tiles, just these small things that you see like this. Each tile has a visual that is on it. And so this is what we refer to as tiles. Now, when we go to our Power BI desktop, our Power BI desktop is where we connect to different data sources. On our Power BI desktop, we transform and clean our data. You're going to see that as we go on this course. On our Power BI desktop, you also create what we call a data model, where you look at different relationships between your data sets. On our Power BI desktop, we also want to create visuals. All these visuals I've been talking about. On our Power BI desktop, we want to create reports. We want to be able, at the end of the day, when you're finished creating this report, you want to be able to publish it on our Power BI service. That's just an overview of what our Power BI desktop does. And this is what our Power BI looks like. Our Power BI desktop, when you click on your Power BI desktop, this is where it brings you. When you try to open up your Power BI desktop. And now when you open it up and you're already in, this is the view you're going to be looking at. Now, the open space where you have, that is just like a football field and you have different things waiting for reports to come on them, is what we call the reports view, or you can also call it your canvas. And this view, anyway, I'll get to that part. This view we are looking at right now is what we call the report view as a whole. Now, on top of it, we have what we call the ribbon. The ribbon simply helps us, just like in your Excel, helps us with the different functions that you can navigate to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Say like you want to get your data, you want to transform, you want to, bring in your text, you want to bring in a new visual, you want to bring in more visual, you have that. In fact, right now they've even added the search bar where you can also search. Now, we have the visualization pane. When you look at this part, you will see that the different visuals that we have been looking at, we've been seeing on this on our visuals so far. You have the bar chart, you have the pie chart, you have the donuts, you have the column chart, you have the line area chart, you have the area chart, you have the maps, you have your filters, you have your slicers, and so on and so forth. This is what we call the visualization pane. We also have the field pane. The field pane is where our data set that we have imported into our Power BI desktop sits. And from there, you can pull whatever information you want and start building your reports. And then we have our tabs. Like I said, you have your page 1, page 2, page 3, and so on and so forth. Now, there are various data sources. And we have kind of categorized them into what we call the FAR, the database, the bioplatform, the Azure Online. And when you talk about FARs, we're looking at data sets like Excel, your CSV files, your XML, your JSON folder, your PDF, your SharePoint folder. When you're looking at database, we have different types of database depending on what your company is using. We have the SQL Server, we have your Access, you have your SSAS, you have your IBM, Postgres, so many database depending on what your company is using. We have the Power Platform where you have your Power BI data set, Power BI data flow, common data services, and so on and so forth. If you're on the cloud, you have the Azure SQL database, you have the Cosmos DB, you have the block storage, and so on and so forth. Depending on what kind of data source you're dealing with, will determine where your data will be located. But just like I said, when I started the class, I said that Power BI has over 200 connectors for different data sources. And these are just the different data sources that you can have your data located on them, and you can use your Power BI to access them. And then when you are bringing in these data sets, you first of all want to go to the Power Query. Power Query, do your ETL, and when you are done with that, you bring it into your Power BI desktop and start to do your analysis. So basically, whenever you talk about doing analysis or anything, the first thing you want to do is to determine where or ask or find out where your data is located. And irrespective of where it's located, sometimes you might want to work on a data on a report and you have your data sets located in different sources. That's not a problem. Power BI can help you bring all these data sets, combine them together, and then put them into your Power BI desktop so that you can start using it for your analysis. And then you just don't want to bring in your data set and you're already moving it into Power BI. You want to move it to your Power Query, where you will have to do some cleaning, do some transformation, get it to a point that it looks better before you move it to your Power BI desktop and start working with it. So basically, the first step when you're doing your data analysis is to, first of all, identify your data and then bring it in. Now, in Power BI, there's something called data storage modes. We have the import mode, we have the direct query, and we have the dual. Import mode simply means that I have my data set, let's say, for example, located on my Excel, and I want to analyze that data set. I can decide to bring it in using the import mode. And so what happens is that everything that I have there, a copy of it is being made and brought into my Power BI desktop. And then I can continue with that and work on it, and at the end of the day, come up with my reports. But direct query simply means that, let's say the data I want to analyze is so much. And probably my data set is always, every now and then it's always updating and stuff like that. And so if I bring in all my, let's even say a database, the data in my database, and if I bring in everything, it's going to, it's not that it's going to make my Power BI, but it's going to make my Power BI so slow in terms of performance, because when you're doing analysis, another very key important thing you want to be looking at is your performance. You don't want your performance to, your system to be so slow that at the end of the day, even your end users are so frustrated using your system. So you can decide to use what we call the direct query method, where you simply go to the data source and connect to it using a direct query method. And so instead of having to copy, just like import, where you have to copy it and have a replicate of it on your Power BI desktop, is simply tapping into the system and directly connecting to it. And so it doesn't need to copy or make a copy of it and have it on your desktop. You're simply just talking to the data set in the data source using the direct query. And so if they're having updates as it's being updated on the, say for example, the database, it's automatically also happening with your data reports. Dual is a situation where you set your storage mode to dual. And so Power BI, depending on the type of data set, maybe if your company have different fluctuating data set, you can decide to either use the import or you can decide to use the direct query. Before I continue, so by next week, we will be next week, I don't think we have a class. I'm not sure. I think Yinka will be in a better place to address that one. But next time we meet again, I'm going to give an assignment. I want you to go and do more research on data storage modes. Look at what import, direct query, and dual means. Try to read more on it and then come back, and maybe by next time that we meet, we'll talk about it. It's like our assignment, our take home. But I've given us an overview of what this import and direct query means. But when you do your assignment, you will get to understand more when we talk about the import and direct query. I'll continue. So we've been talking about our Power Query, where we have to bring in our data sets from different sources. And instead of taking it straight to our Power BI, we take it to our Power Query. Power Query is simply a tool or a channel for connecting, transforming, and combining data. It's also known as the data extraction and transformation engine. One of us, you're going to meet her. I think she'll be the next person taking the class, Lady Gloria. What she calls the Power Query is what we call the kitchen of the Power BI. And I agree with her, to be honest. When you say Power Query is the kitchen, just picture in your mind, when you talk about kitchen in your house, what do you do in the kitchen? In the kitchen, you do a lot of cleaning in terms of washing plates, washing pots, washing any kind of washable, in terms, even your fruits that you buy from the market and everything. And then in the kitchen, you try to cook. It's not that you try to cook, you cook in the kitchen. And when you're cooking, let's say you want to prepare a soup, you're putting different things, pepper, salt, these are different transformations. At the end of the day, in as much I have all this, you have your pepper, you have your crayfish, you have your salt, you have everything. But by the time you finish cooking, you come up with one beautiful soup and everybody say, yummy. That's because you've done some transformation. Imagine if you just bring your pepper, you just put salt, just in their raw data, in their raw form, and then bring out. I mean, everybody will run away. But by the time you have finished doing all the medis, and you bring it in, and everybody's like, oh wow, this is yummy. That's because you have done some transformation. And just the way your kitchen in your house is, when you bring it to Power BI and picture Power Query as your kitchen, that's what Power Query does. And so wherever your data set is located, you bring it into your Power Query. You start to do cleaning, because to be honest, almost all the data sets that you have, if not, let me be fair, 99% of your data needs some level of cleaning and transformation, because you want to be looking at the different data types. You want to be sure this is the data type you want to work with. You want to be sure there are no missing data. You want to be sure that there are no abnormalities. You want to be sure that there are no duplicates. You want to be sure that there are so many things to look out for in your Power Query. And so the best practice is, when you extract your data, instead of loading it straight into your Power BI desktop, you want to take it to your Power Query and try to transform it to the point that it gets it's clean and it's in good shape, and then you can now work with it. Now, the danger of not cleaning up your data sets and not even transforming it to a point that it looks good for you to start analyzing is that if you don't do that, by the time you start doing your analysis, you might be getting something that is not the correct thing. And you don't want that, because people are depending on you to bring data, analyze it, and give them. And based on that, they're trying to make decisions. And then you come and you're giving a wrong information. That's like a disaster, right? So you want to be sure that you have done the needful so that by the time you start analyzing, it's easy for you. It's not just easy for you. You are sure you are getting the right results. And so that's what the Power Query does for us. Now, in the Power Query, we can look at different things that you can do there. It's not limited to this, but I just listed some. You can do what we call the copy. You can remove columns. So if you have a large data set and at the end of the day, most of the columns you have there, you're not working with there, you can remove that when you get into your Power Query. You can trim your data. You can replace values. You can replace errors. You can split columns. You can fill up your columns. And then you can even append, you can merge. There are so many things you do in the Power Query, but I've just listed a few. And so with this, I've just come to the end of our theory aspects, and we're going to jump into our demo. All right. I'm going to open up my Power BI. Power BI. Power BI. Desktop, open. So we're going into our practical. All the things we have looked at, we're going to look at the Power BI aspect. So basically today we're just doing an overview of what our Power BI. By next time that we meet, we'll start working with our data sets. Yeah, so my Power BI desktop is open now. And remember I said we have the Power BI desktop, we have the service, and we have the mobile. But what I'm on right now is our Power BI desktop. And then you can close this. If you have this open, you can just close it. And this is our Power BI desktop. I've already explained what this place is. This is what we call the reports view, or you can say it's your canvas. Underneath it is what we call the page tab. So you have your page 1. To create another page, you click on this. To create another page, click on this, and you can create different reports for each page. Beside this is what we call the field pane. Also, recently they changed. Before now, it used to be fields there, but I think just last month it was changed to data. But it's still the same thing because this is a section that houses our data. So by the time you bring in your data sets and you come into your Power BI, this is where you're going to be seeing your data sets. This is our visualization pane. By the time you start doing your visuals, this is where you start to select the different visuals that you have. I'm going to increase this. Okay. So if you look at this, we have different visuals. We have the bar charts, we have the column charts, we have the line charts, you have the area charts, you have the pie charts, you have the scatter charts, you have the funnel chart. I mean, there are lots and lots of them. And even when you don't have, like, let's say, for example, you need a chart and it's not here, right? Power BI says, no problem, you can still have those visuals. And how can you do that? You have the 3 lines, the 3 dots under the visuals, the visualization pane. When you click on it, it brings up another option that says get more visuals. If you click on get more visuals, okay, now it wants me to log in. You log in. Once I log in now, it gives me opportunity to go online on the Power BI service, and I have loads and loads of visuals, and then you can select from that. By the time we continue, we do that. I don't want to start logging in now. Okay, that's it for the visualization pane. And then we have, remember I said the ribbon where you have your get data and everything. We're still going to come to this. Then we have this view as a whole. This view as a whole. And this is the icon here. It's what we call the report view. It's called the report view because this is where you generate all your reports. This view is what we call the data view. By the time we bring in data, you will see your data sets here. And then this view is what we call the model view. By the time we bring in our data sets and we want to model, we want to find the relationship between the different data sets, right? This model view helps us to understand what is happening in terms of their relationship. And so, like I said, in our Power BI desktop, we have 3 different views. We have the report view, we have the data view, and we have the model view. All right. Then we're going to look at the get data. We have been talking about get data, get data, get data. This is the almighty get data. When I click on this,
excuse me, please. What you are showing, I can't see. I can only see the first page you opened earlier, where we're seeing a Power BI desktop. Everything you are saying we should click, you click on this. It's not moving. Is that right on your own page, or I want to be sure that we're on the same page?
Okay. So what are you seeing now? I'm on my desktop, Power BI desktop view. Is that what you're seeing now?
What I'm seeing as your screen now is Power BI desktop. That's what I have seen from the onset when you started. I can see your cursor moving, and then I can see where it's in the middle where there is collaborate and share, and the other side has the green box where it says what's new. That's the only place I've been since.
Okay, I think you're not.
Can we hear from somebody else? Because I was seeing the dialog boxes.
I can see the.
Yeah, her screen is fine.
No,
I can see what
it should be from her end. Maybe she should go out and come back in. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let me do that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's continue. I'll go back and explain this when she comes back. So let's continue. When you want to bring in data into your Power BI, you go to this section where we have get data. When you double click on it, it's going to bring up a view. Good. It brings up this view where you have the option to choose what kind of data source you want to bring in. If you look at all, when it says all, any type of data set, you have the Excel, you have the CSV, you have the XML, you have the JSON, you have the folder, you have PDF, just name them. And you have so many of them. If you scroll down, there are lots of them, lots of them. Depending on the data source that you're working with, will determine what data source you're going to select. Now, when you break it down into like the subheadings, when you go to file, when the data source we refer to as flat file. And that is where you have the likes of Excel, you have text CSV, you have the XML, you have the JSON, you have the folder, you have the PDF, PowerPoint, SharePoint folder. That's what you have under your file. For your database, depending on the database your company is using, if it's SQL, if it's Access, if it's the SSAS, if it's Oracle, if it's IBM, Postgre, SAP, just name them. Any type of database that your company is using. If you come here where it says database, you try and go through it. You have the MarianeDB, just go through it and try to find your own company database and then select it and go ahead and connect to that data source. We have the Power Platform. We have the Azure. We have the online services, and we have others. So depending on whatever kind of data source you're connecting to, you can go to this get data, try to locate the type of data sets source, and then select the one you are working with. I'm going to do a practical example. Let's say, for example, I want to connect to an Excel workbook. So these ones you see here are like the shortcuts kind of how to bring in your data. So the same thing you have on your data, this is like a shortcut to bring in it. Depending on what you use often, you could have it here. So I'm going to go to an Excel. I want to bring in a data set that is located, that is an Excel, is located on my Excel. What I need to do is go to Excel. So go to get data. Oh, sorry, let me go back. You go to your get data. You can click on this drop down arrow, select Excel, and then it will ask you, where is it located? This Excel you're trying to access, where is it located? You can go to your data on your Power BI, on your desktop. It depends on where you have it stored. If it's on your documents or anything, you go there and then try to bring it up. So I will just click on this because this is an Excel data set, and click on open. Now, what is happening now is that my Power BI, using the connector, Power BI connector, which is Excel, is trying to connect to the Excel data set that I have located on my computer. And now it's looking at the different data set. Now it's come up with this, and it's telling me this is what I can see from that folder. I can see this. You can preview what you have there. So I can see data set glossary. Is this what I want to bring in? This is not really what I want to bring in. So I'll say no. I can preview it. That's the beauty of it. You can see what you're bringing in by just clicking on it. Just clicking on it, you can see what you're bringing in. Okay. Now let's say I don't want to bring in this data set glossary. I don't want to bring it. I just want to bring in, say, this big data set. I'll just click on it. And then go to this part. Notice that before I clicked on any of this part was not highlighted. The only part that is highlighted here is the cancel. If I click on cancel, I go back to where I was. But the moment I select a particular data set, this other ones comes up immediately. You see your load, you see your transform data. Now there's something they always say, ETL. Let me just give like a basic understanding of ETL. ETL, just like the name, E stands for extract, T stands for transform, L stands for load. Extract means I have my data sets, I have it located somewhere, I want to go and extract it. I simply go to the data sets, to my get data, just what I'm doing now. That's what I'm trying to extract. That's what I'm doing now. Now, by the time I'm done extracting, I want to go in either to transform the data or to load it. But the best practice, I will advise us, because like I said before, almost 99% of data sets that we're working with, unless you have cleaned it before now, but if not, almost 99% tend to be dirty. At least it needs some level of cleaning or even transformation. And so instead of clicking on load immediately, if you click on load, it automatically loads it to your Power BI. But if you click on transform, it will take you to your Power Query. The Power Query, remember the kitchen that we talked about. I'm going to do that. But before we go to that, did you notice that we have this coming up and we have this coming up? This is the same with this. The only thing is that because Power BI has an AI feature, it's also bringing up the table. These are tables. These are tables. This is exactly what you have here. But this one is coming up as a table. Power BI is importing it as a table. But for this one, it's just importing it, the weight is the raw data. The weight is on your data, on your desktop, on your computer. Let me say that again. Power BI has an AI feature. And when you want to extract data and it brings it on your navigator pane, this is what we call the navigator pane. The whole of this is what we call the navigator pane. When it comes to the navigator pane, Power BI uses the AI feature to tell you, okay, this is what you have in your back end on your system, but we can also populate it as a table, and this is like the table equivalent of what you have here. Well, For somebody like me, I would just prefer to go for the table because what it means is that to some extent, it has removed some things that are irrelevant in this data sets. What do I mean? It's the public. Okay, let me see if I can say it from here. Oh, this one is good to go. So there are some data sets that you can pull in, and the way you have your column, study ID, cell ID, brown within 3 minutes, 3 seconds, sorry. Question type, control positive. You might see more columns. Just the way you have this column, you might see other columns, and on those columns, you just have no, all true, no, all true, no, all true. I wish I have one that is like that so that you can see what I'm talking about. Great. Look at this. Let's look at this now. You see that it has data on the first column, second column, but here we can see no. Let's go and look at the table parts. Notice that the table part just have the column 1 and column 2. There's no other column 3, column 4 like we had here. That's the beautiful thing about using the table parts. So table simply does like the basic cleaning for you. It takes off that part because it has looked at it. The AI function in Power BI has looked at it and seen that the column 3 to column 5 or column 6, I can't remember, it's empty. So I don't need it. So why should I bring it in? But if you go and select this, when you bring it into your Power BI, your Power Query, it's going to have all these columns there. So that's the beautiful thing about using this parts. So that's why I said if I'm working with this data set now, I prefer to use this parts. All right, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring in this now. And like I said, the best practice, instead of loading straight on into your Power BI, you want to go into your transform data. Oh, I just clicked on it. And it will take me to my Power Query. It's coming up. Yep, we have it here. Remember, I said Power Query is like our kitchen, and this is what our Power Query looks like. Just like a Power BI, you still have your ribbons. You know your Power Query in Excel, for those of us that know Excel, it's just the same thing. It's just the same Power Query that you know there is what we have here. Okay. So in your Power Query, like I said, this is where you do the different things in terms of cleaning, in terms of transforming it. So I'm not going to be doing much on this. I'm just going to do an intro because we're still going to have a class where we'll work with this Power Query extensively. But looking at this now, this is where on your Power Query, you can decide to, okay, instead of saying that this data set is called dig data sets, I can decide to now say, oh no, I don't want it to be called dig data set. I want it to be called, let's say, cohort 4 training, training data sets. What's happening? Okay, so can you see that I've been able to rename these data sets? That's one of the things you can do with your Power Query. There are so many other things. You can decide to delete this cell, this column. Looking at this column, I can say it's just one data all through. I can decide to delete it. I can decide to add another column. I can decide to replace, instead of having videos, I can decide to say, okay, replace this value. I don't want it to be video anymore. Can you replace it and call it, let's say, what do you call it now? Film. And say, okay. It will change everything from video to film. There are so many things you can do here, but like I said, today is not for this, but I wanted us to have a basic understanding of what our Power Query is like. On your Power Query, you still have the home, you have the transform, you have the add column, view tools, and so on and so forth. This is where you have the name of your data set. Now, in Power Query, there's something called apply steps. So everything that you are doing on your data set is being recorded on your applied text. Here you have the different query. If I bring in another data set, I'm going to be seeing it here. This is where I see all the data sets I've been able to import into my Power Query. And by the time I'm done with whatever I'm doing, I want to now tell Power BI, okay, please, can you close this and give me my Power BI and load it into my Power BI. You can either decide to close this Power Query and apply every change that all the changes that you've done here and tell it to apply it on your Power BI, or you can decide to apply it and don't close this. You want to leave your Power Query open, you can just click on apply, and then it's automatically goes to your Power BI, loads into your Power BI. Or you can decide to close it. Let's say after doing this, I decide, okay, I don't want to even do this. I don't want to apply all those changes. Let it still be the way it was. I can just say close, and then I close it. Otherwise, I can say close and apply. So I've done some changes here. The only changes I've done is that I changed the name of the data set, and I tried to replace video to be film. I can say close and apply, and it will close my Power Query and bring me to my Power BI. Power BI.
Chairman, excuse me. Are they doing it as an answer, or is it he? You have a question?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. With respect to cleaning of the data, aside changing names of a particular data, what else can we do in terms of cleaning data? How do we know that we want to clean a data? Then how do we clean the data? Aside this example that was shown, where we have to change from film to maybe videos.
Okay, so like I said, this is not what we're doing for today. I just wanted to give an intro. The next section, we're going to be looking at cleaning of the data and every transformation you need to do on your data set. So by the time we come for the next section, we'll go into details. I just wanted to show us what a Power Query looks like.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so we've been able to load our data sets. You remember the data set that we imported. We've been able to load it, and it's on our Power BI, and the section where you can see it is on the section that we'll call the data field, or let's say, yeah, the data field. So this is, remember, we changed the name to cohort 4 training data sets, and it's telling me that the storage mode that I use here is imports. Remember, that's your homework. Please don't forget to do it. It will help you get better understanding into what we're doing. Now, if I click on this, I can see all the columns that I had on my data set. So with this now, I can start to build my data, my visuals, my reports. So let's even say I'm working with this data set. I can see that we have brand within 3 seconds, cell ID, I can see this, formats, platform, question type, and so on and so forth. So this is a part of your Power BI desktop where you get to see what your data set, or you get to see the data set that you're working with and the one you can drag in or out at every point in time. Now, remember when I said this is what we call the report view, this view, where you have something like a graph or bar chart. This is what we call the report view, which is this view we're looking at, is the default view where you create your reports. We have the data view. Now, because I've been able to import a data into my data Power BI, that's why you can say this now. And this is the data set for this cohort 4 training data set. So I can see, okay, I have the study ID. I can see this data set has a cell ID. I can see the brands within 3 seconds. I can see the sound off. I can see the format. I can see the platform. I can see the question type, just what the data is all about, right? I can see that this data set has 87 rows. So I know it's 87 data sets instances that we're using here. And what else? And as we go along, we'll get to the point where we're going to use this. If not in this beginner section, advanced and intermediate section, we're going to use this. Now we have what we call the data model. Now I can only say this because I just brought in one data set. By the time I bring in 2, 3, Power BI wants to understand, okay, is there a relationship between these 3 data sets I'm working with? And this is what we call the model view. Maybe we bring in more data set and Let's see. So that's it. That's like the basic way of bringing in a data set. That was for Excel. Let's try to bring in a CSV. I hope I have a CSV on my. Okay, I'm trying to bring in a CSV data set. I will go to my get data. I'll try to look for CSV. Otherwise, I can double click on this. Okay. I can decide to go to my file because I know CSV is a file type of data source and select my text CSV and click on connect. And then I come to my data set. I want to bring in, say, this data vaccine, and I click open. Yep. And we're in. This is our CSV. And we want to bring it in. Remember what I said? I said instead of using load straight on, you need to click on transform data and then go to your Power Query. So this is my data set. Like I said, there are so many things you can do here, and that's what we're going to do next. You can see where you have your remove columns. In fact, if you right click on this, you can see the different things that you can do. You can remove, you can copy, you can duplicate, you can change type. By the time we get to our next class, you will do all this, you will practicalize it. So that's it. I can decide if, let's just assume that we've been able to clean up this data sets. When I'm done cleaning, when I'm done transforming, and I can tell it to close and apply. So I want to load this data set again into my Power BI. And that's it there. That's the data set I just brought in. That's it here. If I go to my data view again and select data version, I will see what my data looks like. This is what it looks like. If I go to my model view now, I can now see the two different data sets I've brought in. Let's say, for example, that there is like a relationship between these two. Okay. To be honest, these data sets are just different. It's not the same. There's no relationship. I'm just assuming. Let's just assume that this, what do I use here now? I wanted to show us something. I'm not doing anything more than this. Once I show us, and that's it. What do I connect now? What do I connect now? Oh my God. Okay. I'll just try and do this. So I want to link this data set to this. I know it will do this because it has nothing to do with this. Which one will be better now? Let me see. It's going to work. All right. We're assuming by the time we get to this, we'll be able to do the right thing. But this is what our data model looks like, where you have different tables and there's a relationship between the two. So what it means, if I have this now, what it means is that this table can connect to this. But for you to create this relationship, there has to be like a column that is the same thing. So what do I mean by that? If, for example, in a company, every company, they have what we call the employee ID, right? And let me go back to my example again. And we're looking at different departments. We are looking at the HR departments and we're looking at the finance departments. Or let me even put it, we are looking at the HR department and we're looking at the sales departments. Now, I want to see all our employees and maybe the day they came into the company, how long they've been with us, just their personal data. If I want to get that data, I'm going to be looking at my HR department. And so I could say this is my HR department. And then this other table is the sales department. So let's say, for example, Adedoyin is in the sales department. And then, of course, I will have record of Adedoyin in my HR department team, and then I'll have record of her also on the sales team. The difference is that on the HR department, I could be looking at her personal details, while on the sales department, I could be looking at the sales she has made over time, you know, her contribution to the sales team. So by the time I want to see, okay, let's say, for example, I want to see my sales team. I want to see their performance. I want to see how long they've been with us in the company. And, you know, I want to see some information about them. I want to see their performance. If I want to get their performance, I'm going to be looking at my sales data, right? But if I want to see how long Adedoyin have been with us, I'm going to be looking at my HR department. And that is when I start to, okay, Adedoyin has something under, okay, I'm going to do something so that I'm not even confusing myself. So I am looking at my data version. I'm going to call it sales department. Sales department. Sorry, guys, I'm so sorry. So I'm looking at my sales department. And the other, instead of calling it cohort, I want to call it, okay. I want to call it the HR department. HR department. Yeah. So let's say, for example, I want to know the performance of Adedoyin. I'm going to use Adedoyin because that's the only name I can remember now. I want to look at Adedoyin's performance. I look at my sales department. I go to my sales department table or record or data sets. That's where I can get what Adedoyin has been doing under the sales team. But I want to see how long Adedoyin has been with us. I mean, my sales department is not the best place to get that information. The best place to get that information is from my HR department, because when I go to my HR department, they can tell me the date that Adedoyin joined the company. Even if she moved departments, I can still get it from them. Anything that has to do with Adedoyin's personal information or information relating to her when it comes to her recruitment and everything, I can see that under my HR department. But now the boss is asking me that I get information that has something to do with Adedoyin, and I have to go to my sales department table, and I also need to get to my HR department table. What I need to do is get these two tables in, find a relationship between the two, which most likely will be the employee ID, link it up, and then try to start looking at information. So that means this table can now talk with this table, and I can get my information without having to do it separately. I can now do my reports as a whole. That's basically what the medal view does for us. We're going to look at that, but that'll be later. So I just wanted us to understand when we say modeling and everything. So this is our report view. Remember, this is our data view, and this is our modeling view. Yeah, that's it. There are so many other data sets that we can bring in, even the web. The web, let's say you want to get information from the website, and you go to the website, copy their URL, paste here, and click on OK. And if there are tables on that website, in terms of the data you want to analyze, it will take you to your navigation pane the same way you have to select the data. So say, for example, you have 5 tables. If you want to bring in the 5 tables, that's fine. You click on all 5, click on transform and load. If you want to, your SQL server, the same thing. So you have a server, you have the server name, you put it here. You have your database, put it here. And then you have, so this is the storage mode that we talked about. What it means, you're trying to tell the Power BI, okay, can you copy? So let's say, for example, you get to your database, and on your database, you have you have the records that we just talked about. I'm going to still use the same example, HR and everything. And what I want to bring in is just my HR information data sets. I mean, it's very minimal. I mean, I can bring that into Power BI. There's no problem. I can easily tell Power BI, do a copy of it, import it for me, do a copy of what I have there and pull it in for me, and let me still have access to it. Then you can use import. But let's say, for example, we are looking at different data sets. So we go into our database and we are looking at, let's say, over 50 data sets. And by the time you bring in the volume, it will be running into millions of data sets. You don't want your Power BI to bring in everything into your Power BI desktop. What you can do is to use the direct query mode. And what it simply means is it's not going to bring in the data set. What it's going to do is it's going to leave it in your database, and based on wherever it is, it will connect to it and be giving you information that you need. So you're working on your desktop, but on your database, you are only getting your information from your database. You are directly connected to your database and you're getting your information from your database. So that's it. Remember, you're supposed to do this as a homework, please. Don't forget. And then you click OK, and that's it. There are so many things you can connect to. And just like I said, depending on where you work or the kind of data sets you're dealing with will now determine. And the beautiful thing is that it's so clear. What you need to do, it's so clear. If you work with Dataverse, when you click on it, you know what to do. If you work with, no matter what you're working with, just click on it. It tells you what to do and you connect to it, and that's it. So back to my PowerPoint slide. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. If you have any questions, now is the time. But before we go to questions, these are the different resources you can, make reference to, and they'll be very helpful. This is the Power BI site. If you haven't downloaded your Power BI, you can do that from here, Power BI desktop. This is where you have different documentation. Power BI have this support group where you can also join and you can ask your questions. And then Power BI has also a blog where you can always stay there and it gets updated on latest updates on the Power BI. Just like I said before now, on our Power BI, this part used to be, oh my God, what did I do? This part used to be viewed, but now it's changed. There are a lot of things that are changing almost on monthly basis or quarterly basis, and that's one good thing about Power BI. They try to make it better. Before now, we used to have a yellow background, but now it's now green. So you get to get all those information from your blog section, and these are like the resources that will really be very helpful. So any questions, please? That's it for today. I can see people.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can unmute. You need to unmute. We can't hear you.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I was going to say that I couldn't join early. I couldn't join back on time because of my network, and I couldn't. Okay, after I joined for a couple of minutes, I didn't see I couldn't see the screen the instructor was sharing. So I was going to ask how soon this video will be uploaded to the YouTube, because I remember during the onboarding, Ms. Olayinka Styler said that video would be uploaded on the YouTube page. So I wanted to confirm when that will be done. I'm able to watch before doing the assignment.
Okay, I think it's uploaded almost immediately, but Yinka will be in a better place to answer that question.
Yeah, we'll try to upload the video latest by Sunday, which is tomorrow. Choma, I was thinking the slides. Can you also upload them like on the file section of Microsoft Teams?
Yes, I can do that.
File section. so that people can have access to it. I think there's another hand up. Deborah's hand is up.
That's Oyinda Falade.
Is Oyinda not the person we have heard?
Yeah,
okay.
Deborah comes next.
Yeah, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi, Deborah.
All right. Hi, good evening. Thank you, Chioma, for a very powerful and impactful session with you. I know that we'll get out, of course, for me, I'll get better with when I have to replay the session again. Thank you very much. So the question I want to ask, you said it can, the Power BI can actually help import and work with data from anywhere that the data is. Now take an example, you have to analyze a data from the cryptocurrency space and you have to log into one of the platforms. Maybe you want to analyze a data from Axie Infinity. So you can actually use that to import the data from that particular cryptocurrency platform to analyze, right? Yes. And then my second question will probably be directed to Yinka. I know it's quite repetitive. You did say you will attend to me on the aspect that I said an email got into my inbox telling me on Sunday that I was already logged out from the Microsoft Teams, which I was not even aware that I had joined. So please, I would want to be added to the Microsoft Teams platform so that something like the file which Chioma will be uploading, I will have access to that and also other information. Other than the Microsoft Teams that I am not in, which I received a mail that I logged out, that I left the platform. I'm on other platforms like the Discord, and I have subscribed to other channels. So Yinka, that's for you. And then over to you, Chioma, please, in the first question. Thank you very much.
Deborah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not so conversant with cryptocurrency, to be honest, but I'm assuming the cryptocurrency is on a web, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's on a web and you have your table or the data you want to analyze on it, you can connect to it using the web. So let me go back to my. Yeah. So this is it. You can connect using the web connector, and then it's going to come up. And when it comes up like this, then you can copy the URL and paste it here and click on OK. If you click on OK, it's going to take you, it's going to pull all the data on that URL that you pasted here. So let's say, for example, it has up to 3 tables on it. It's going to pull all of them and bring it up on your navigator pane. When it comes up on your navigator pane, remember how I showed you guys how to preview what you have. So you can preview and decide, okay, do I want to bring in this data set? If you don't want to preview it, if you don't want to bring it in, don't, oh God. I wish I can have this thing to practicalize it with now. Oh my God, what am I doing? Oh, which side do I use now that has data on it? Let me see, COVID data. Can I see anything on COVID data? Let me see if I have anything. Hold on. Nigerian COVID data, and that's better. Okay, let me go to the site and see what we have there. Okay, good. We have something here. So this is like a website now. This is NCDC website. And this is like information on our COVID cases so far. And I want to put this table and I want to analyze it. What I will do is copy this URL, go back to my Power BI. Remember what I did, go to get data. I'm going to do that again. Get data, go to web, and I'm going to paste this and I'm going to click on OK. Use anonymous access from this account. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead. Give it to me. Trying to connect. Forever.
Okay, while that is coming up, Chioma.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a question on the chat.
All right.
Amanambe says, what's the assignment? Can you repeat what the assignment is?
Okay, I'll go back to the assignments, but this is up now. I'll go back to that. Thank you, Franca. So this is, like I said, this is my navigator pane. And my Power BI has been able to pull all the data set that I can see on that URL. Now, I am looking at it. I'm not really understanding what's happening here. So I can click on this and preview it. Okay, this is it. I think this is what I'm looking for. This is the data set we saw there. I will still click on this to see what's happening. But this is another table. So that means we have two tables on that URL, but I'm not sure this is what I want to work with. I'll click on this still. This is like a HTML code. So apparently what I want to pull in is just this table. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and click on transform data. Okay, that's it. And that's our information, that's our data set. So you can see the states affected, number of cases, and so on and so forth. And it's coming in as table 1. That's because maybe on our website it wasn't. So on your own, you cannot decide to rename it. I remember I saw this is supposed to be NCDC data sets. Okay. And then I can go ahead now. Do your cleaning, don't forget, but we'll look at that in the next section. Close and apply. Trying to bring it into my Power BI now. So back to your question, Deborah, if you look at, depending on what you want to analyze, this is like one way to go about it. Copy the URL, paste it on your web where it says URL, and then try to bring it into your data set, and then you can start to analyze. I hope this answers your question, Deborah. So that's it. That's my NCDC data set. Let me collapse this. That's it. So you can now go ahead and look at the analysis that you want. Yeah.
Deborah, you were asking about. I have said that I will add you back after the meeting. I will look at it.
Thank you, Chioma, but the network has all the while been intercepted. So.
Oh my God. Okay, hopefully by the time you look at the recording, you'll get it again. No problem.
Okay, thank you. The network is quite unstable. Thank you. I will get the reply from you now.
All right, dear. All right. Okay. Okay, the question, sorry, I forgot that part now. So the assignment is this. We looked at data storage modes. And we said that there are different types. It can be import, direct. Dual simply means either of any of this. So I want us to go back and get more information on these data storage modes. And by the next class, you present it to us. So do like a research and come up with something, just maybe 3 slides, that's okay. But let's have an understanding of what data storage modes. At least 2 or 3 people will present so that we are sure we understand what it means. Because if you understand this, it will help you when you are looking at other parts of our training. So that's actually the assignment. I'm still going to upload this document on our files. Yeah, that's it. Any other question?
Deborah, if you can hear me, I responded that I'm going to look at your email this night and make sure that I add you back to the channel.
Okay, Adedoyin has her hands up. Adedoyin, you can unmute
Yes,
and ask your question.
So I would like to ask, what other platforms are we on? I actually connect on my email. That's where I get to follow the address. But I heard someone mention Discord. But that Discord, I tried to log in and it was asking me for whether the URL of this particular cohort, and I don't have it. Is there any other platform we use?
In the very first email that we sent to you, informing you of your success, we shared a link to our Discord channel. I don't know anything about asking you for any URL. You're supposed to just join the Discord group if you already have an account on Discord. Of course, if you don't, you have to create an account on Discord first and then join the group. But you're not supposed to, nobody is asking you for any URL or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? I think that's it. And what's our time now? Okay, we're almost there. So yes, thank you so much. But before we go, I'm going to share a link, and that's like a link for feedback on our chat. Please fill it up for us. And based on our section today, let us know what you feel. If it was okay, if you were able to understand what was happening, if there are any other things that you want. This is more like a feedback to evaluate the instructor. So thank you so much, guys. And with that, I think we can come to the end of today's section. If you don't have any other question, hopefully by the next class, it might not be so clear, but what we just did today was more like an